Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menasce. On today's show, we're talking about buying a property and how to know what your property taxes will be after you complete the purchase. It's common for the property taxes associated with the property to be listed as part of the real estate listing. Through the 1980s and 1990s, and even as recently as 2020 and 21, the state of California has been tweaking the handling of property taxes through various ballot initiatives. These go under names like Proposition 13, Proposition 58, Proposition 19, Proposition 193. These property tax initiatives were designed to enable residents to continue to afford their properties, despite the sometimes extreme increase in property values. When properties go up in value, so too do the assessed value for property tax purposes. For those on fixed income, the increase in property taxes can be extreme. Places like Silicon Valley, Los Angeles, and San Diego are places where many folks on fixed income have a hard time affording the property taxes on their home. Many cities in California offer property tax exemptions, abatements, or reductions for existing residents. Some of those cities include Sacramento, San Francisco, Oakland, San Diego, LA, San Jose, Riverside, and the list goes on. When we think of property tax abatements, we tend to think of California first. We tend not to think of places like Texas that have a bit more of a Wild West reputation. But similar provisions exist in many Texas cities, including Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Antonio, and Arlington. Houston is one of the largest cities in Texas, and it's home to over 2.3 million residents. The city of Houston gets the bulk of its revenue through property taxes. In the city of Houston, property taxes are based on the assessed value of the property. It generates revenue for the city, but it can also lead to some unfair property tax assessments. So the city of Houston offers a number of tax exemptions and reassessments that help make the assessment process more fair and more equitable. Property tax exemptions and reassessments provide homeowners and businesses the opportunity to receive reductions in their taxes based on individual circumstances. One of the more common property tax exemption is the homestead exemption. That's available to homeowners who meet certain requirements and allows for a portion of their taxes to be reduced from their assessment. In Houston, the homestead exemption reduces the total tax appraised value on a homestead by up to 20%. Another tax exemption is the property tax reappraisal. It allows homeowners to request that their property be reassessed at its current fair market value. Now, of course, that could result in an increase or a decrease in the assessed value and therefore the associated property taxes. Other exemptions in Houston include the Veterans Tax Exemption, the Elderly Tax Exemption, the Disabled Tax Exemption, and the Homestead Preservation District Exemption. There's also a Homestead Assistance Program and a Freeport Exemption. Each of these exemptions provides additional relief to homeowners and allows for lower property tax assessments and taxation. Property tax exemptions and reassessments often provide relief to homeowners. If you're looking at investing in Houston, it's important to understand both the exemptions and the reassessments available through the city. By obtaining these exemptions and reassessments, taxpayers can save a ton of money on their property taxes. Now, when a property sells to a new buyer, you can expect the exemption to disappear and for the property to be reassessed. So as a buyer, it's not uncommon to see your property taxes jump by a factor of 5 in the hands of the new owner. You can't just assume the property will continue to be assessed at the same tax valuation as it was in the hands of the seller. It's a very important part of your due diligence to get a proper estimate of what the property tax would be in your hands. The mill rate, which is multiplied by the assessed value to determine the taxes, varies in each jurisdiction, and that can vary hyperlocal situations. Taxes in Houston are high compared with other cities across the U.S., so a big multiplier on your property taxes is going to have a material impact on the underwriting of your property. The message here is it's not just California. It turns out every state offers some form of property tax exemption, and these exemptions and their values vary by state and by county. The most common property tax exemption is the homestead exemption. 46 states offer this exemption on the taxpayer's primary residence. The exemption protects a portion of the home's assessed value from being taxed. Many states have property tax exemptions for homeowners over 65, and 12 states offer 100% exemptions or tax relief programs for older Americans. States that have no property tax for seniors include Alabama, Alaska, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Mississippi, New York, New Hampshire, South Carolina, South Dakota, Texas, and Washington. You simply can't look at the property taxes being paid by the seller and assume you're going to pay the same amount for that same property in your hands. The property due diligence step requires a deeper analysis for other comparable properties where the current property tax assessments. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.